We would like to ask you to take your seats and collect the headsets.
Headsets.
Senhoras e senhores, queiram, por gentileza, ocupar os seus lugares.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Don't forget to get your headsets for the simultaneous translation, and we wish you a wonderful meeting. Our session is about to start.
Congratulations, João Felipe. Overcoming challenges is also part of the journey of these incredible young people who have turned music and rhythm into powerful tools for social inclusion. So let's give a warm round of applause to the group Meninos do Morumbi. Thank you, everyone. These artists remind us that music has a unique power to bring people together and to show us what we are capable of when we are at our very best. Isn't that exactly what brings us here today? To show our best and to build a better, more sustainable future. I'm so great to be here. I'm Juliana Moroni, and it's truly an honor to be with all of you as we kick off this very special edition of the World Circular Economy Forum, WCEF, held for the very first time here in Latin America and the Caribbean. That choice was no coincidence. The countries in our region hold an extraordinary share of the planet's natural wealth. 1/3 of the world's renewable freshwater resources, with Brazil alone holding 12% of the global reserves. Over half of the world's biodiversity is found here, including 6 of the planet's most mega-diverse countries: Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Peru, Venezuela, and Brazil, which stands out as the most biodiverse country in the world. We also hold vast reserves of strategic minerals like lithium, copper, critical metals, and rare earth elements. Our region is home to the Amazon, the world's largest tropical rainforest, spanning across 9 South American countries, with the majority located in Brazil. On its own, our country keeps more than half of its territory covered by natural forests. In terms of energy consumption, South America largely relies on renewable sources, around 38%, Brazil 50%, while the rest of the world uses only 15%. As if that wasn't enough, our region also respects, protects, and incorporates the knowledge of traditional communities, especially indigenous people, the true guardians of these lands. In Brazil alone, there are over 1.6 million indigenous people, the largest native population in the world living on legally recognized lands. All of this creates the perfect setting for reflection and discussion on the transformations the global society must face. WCEF 2025 marks the recognition of the strategic role in Latin America, and Brazil in particular, can and must play in a just transition to a circular economy. More than just a space for ideas, this is the right environment for regional collaboration, both in policy and in business. We are here to explore and assess a strong set of strategies, technologies, and innovations that offer real solutions for the smart use of our planet's resources. We will also have the opportunity to discuss how the productive sector can go beyond operational efficiency to redesign its value chains by using renewable inputs, extending production and consumption models, and incorporating circular metrics into performance indicators. In terms of public policies, many countries in our region, including Brazil, have already adopted regulations that promote the principles and practices of the circular economy. For example, with the launch of the Nova Indústria Brasil, the country began shaping a new industry strategy based on innovation, ecological transition, and also decarbonization. This ambitious agenda includes incentives for the bioeconomy, digital transformation, and more circular production chains. All of this positions Brazil as a global reference in this movement. The solutions we'll see and discuss here are success stories that can be replicated, adapted, or even improved with each new technological and production evolution. We hope to leave this forum with integrated agendas, with clarity and conviction about the strategic role of the circular economy in transforming the way the world produces and consumes. This is a defining moment, a chance for us to shape together the future we want for our planet. The World Circular Economy Forum is a global initiative promoted by Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund, that explores how businesses can gain a competitive advantage through circular practices and how this contributes to achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. WCEF 2025 is promoted in collaboration with the CNI, SENAI, Fiesp, and SENAI-SP. And now, to welcome everyone and officially open the forum, I'd like to invite the Director of International Programs at Sitra, co-host of WCEF 2025, Christo Lehtonen. Welcome, Christo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests of honor, and change makers from around the world. It is truly an honor to welcome you all to World Circular Economy Forum 2025. We have a task ahead. Let's reshape our global economy to work for everyone and for the planet. This year's forum is particularly significant as it marks the first ever WCEF in Latin America. It would be hard to find a better setting for this conversation than Brazil and Sao Paulo, its economic powerhouse. Let me begin by addressing what is the essence of circular economy and why it matters now more than ever. At its core, circular economy represents an opportunity for businesses, communities, and the planet. It is about tackling inefficiencies and waste, keeping products and materials for as long as possible, and designing solutions that respect planetary boundaries. Simply put, it's about making more with less. Well then, why is circular economy important just now, maybe more important than ever? Let me share with you 3 insights drawn from Sitra's work. First, data and AI-powered circularity. Digital data is arguably the most valuable resource of our times, and artificial intelligence its most transformative technology. Together, they are redefining circularity. Tools such as AI, blockchain, and digital product passports are no longer futuristic concepts. They are driving real change as we speak. These innovations are unlocking a new age of transparency, traceability, and intelligence in material flows. In Finland, Sitra has funded AI-powered solutions such as sorting for car recycling, yielding real-world impact and new business opportunities. The European Union is promoting the circular economy with regulations for digital product passports, and Sitra, in turn, has been working with innovators in promoting blockchain-based digital product passports. These passports act as standardized digital records, detailing a product's composition, origin, life cycle, and environmental footprint. Powerful tools for circularity and productivity. This brings me to my second point. Smart regulation is a necessary catalyst for circular economy. To accelerate the transition to circular economy, we need smart regulation. Bold policies can drive systemic change, making circularity the norm, not the exception. From the European Union's forthcoming Circular Economy Act to extended producer responsibility schemes in Asia and Latin America, one thing is clear: linear systems are losing their license to operate. Regulation should not be seen as a constraint, it is a catalyst. Smart regulation is well designed and balanced. It levels the playing field, incentivizes innovation, and protects the most vulnerable to environmental degradation. Third, we must recognize the essential role of circular economy for competitiveness and national security. In today's world of uncertainty, circularity is a matter of national security and strategic autonomy. What once began as niche sustainability initiatives for companies have now become central to boardroom strategies. Recent crises, from the pandemic to geopolitical conflicts, have exposed the fragility of global systems and supply chains. Circularity, on the other hand, strengthens resilience by keeping precious materials in use, designing long-lasting products, and improving reuse and recycling. And yet, despite all of this, we must confront a hard truth. Knowing is not action. We know that the circular economy has huge potential. We know it's a powerful tool to tackle the climate crisis. We know it can boost economic growth and create millions of new jobs. What we need is action over words. Today, the global circularity rate has dropped to just 7%. We are extracting and consuming more virgin materials than ever before. The gap between what we could achieve and what we are actually doing continues to widen. This gap is our call to action. Let this forum be more than a platform for discussion. Let it serve as a launchpad for action, to form new partnerships, to innovate together, to scale what works, to fund what truly matters, and to close the circularity gap before it becomes irreversible for our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christo. Moving from ideas to action. We know how important this topic is for our planet, our region, and for Brazil. That's why Mr. Geraldo Alckmin, Vice President and Minister of Development, Industry, Trade and Services, wanted to be here today. But as acting president with a full agenda, he couldn't join us in person today. Still, recognizing the forum's importance, he made a point of sending us a message. Let's hear it.
Dear friends, the world is looking for a new world governance and is set on leading this transformation. Brazil is at the forefront of food safety, energy safety, clean energy, and the climate change. The Brazilian industry and Brazilian politics of the current administration recognizes the circular economy as a main tool to improve welfare. Circular economy shows us the way to optimize the use of resources, reduce waste, and create new business models. The International Circular Economy Forum 2025, which begins today, aims at proposing ideas on how to help countries and governments and the private sector and society in general to form a partnership on behalf of sustainability. I wish you a great meeting.
Thank you for your words, Mr. President. Now, please welcome to the stage Mr. Rafael Cervoni, Vice President of the Federation of Industries of the State of São Paulo and President of Center of Industries of São Paulo. Mr. Marcelo Tomé, Vice President of the Brazilian National Confederation of Industry. And Mr. Pedro Guerra, Chief of Staff and Representative of the Ministry of Development, Industry, Trade and Services. And please pick your headsets because they will speak now in Portuguese. A gente começa ouvindo primeiramente Rafael Cervoni. Eu vou pedir ao Rafael que, por favor, venha aqui até o púlpito para a sua apresentação.
The stage here.
Thank you. Obrigada.
The energy is pumping. We started off on a very good note with the mini conductor, and this is so good. I'm very excited. I would like to thank the presence of each one of you and all of you who are following us on YouTube. A special thank you to the current president, President Alckmin, for all his dedication to make this forum come true and take place here in São Paulo, and also Mr. Pedro Guerra, the Chief of Staff. I would like to thank them on your behalf, the board of CITRA, and the representatives from Finland who made this event possible. I would also like to thank Mr. Marcelo Tomé, Vice President of Brazilian National Confederation of Industry, actually from the state of Rondônia, apparently the best coffee in the country, which together with Fiesp accepted this huge challenge of hosting this International Circular Economy Forum. Also, my thank you to Mrs. Tarja Henneken. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. In such an important forum, well, it could not have taken place without the support of many institutions, national and foreign partners and sponsors who have been named already. Thank you very much. It's a great satisfaction. It is a big responsibility for us, especially because we are serving as the pioneers. We are the first country in Latin America to host this event. We know the circular economy needs to be further incorporated by many business segments. Fiesp is currently discussing this topic for over 10 years by participating in former editions of this World Forum. So much so that during the pandemic, the South American Circular Economy Forum was held with the participation of 1,300 people participating online. We also launched the book Design and Circular Economy in 2019 in both Portuguese and Spanish. Also, very importantly, we under CNE, we participated in the drafting of the norms ISO 5000 launched last year, but our responsibility, our greatest responsibility is towards the continuous development of the Paulista industry, which accounts for 40% of Brazil's GDP and employs more than 30,000 people. When we consider that most companies are small and medium-sized companies, all our efforts have to be concentrated on the training of our employees and collaborators. I take this opportunity to invite you all to come visit our mobile school of circular economy, parked just outside the auditorium, and this school has already visited 31 cities, so that all the students from Senai, São Paulo, can get to know this circular economy. In addition to bringing so many benefits, which we will definitely be able to gain more understanding of in the next 2 days, will represent significant gains in technology and infrastructure for the collection, stratification and processing of materials, and the redesigning of products and processes. Under the current tax legislation, the cost of secondary raw materials may be higher or less stable than those of the virgin materials, compromising the implementation of these actions. But most certainly our greatest challenge, and we will be discussing this in our first panel, has to do with the financial system and the current investment models, which in their majority invest in linear businesses. The perception is that there is a lack of accessible investment and incentives, especially for the circular economy initiatives, both on the part of public banks and private banks. I strongly believe that the outcomes and results of this forum will show the potential benefits of a circular economy that will in turn be recognized and encouraged, so that the private sector can overcome a very complex financial and economic situation full of challenges. I would like to conclude by saying that I'm very optimistic. I can assure you that innovation has already started, and together we will create a virtuous, vicious circle that will involve society, the government, and the industry, so as to promote a fairer and more resilient economy. I am confident that each one of us do a great job individually speaking. However, it is not good enough to work separately and individually. So, my friends, the key word here is cooperation, to work together, join forces, so that we can make progress full of positive energy towards a more sustainable society, 4.0 society. Have a great forum.
Muito obrigada, Rafael. Com a sua fala, eu
Thank you very
registrei
much,
otimismo,
Rafael.
esperança
You
e ação.
transmitted
Listening to
optimism,
you,
hope,
the words
and
that came
action.
up were optimism, hope, and action. Bem, e agora vamos ouvir o Rafael. Desculpa, agora vamos chamar o Marcelo Tomé. Marcelo,
Now,
gostaria que você
I
viesse
would
aqui
like to give the
para
floor to
fazer a sua fala.
Marcelo
ao púlpito.
Tomé for
Bom
your
dia.
remarks. Good morning.
Bom dia.
Good morning, Juliana. It's a great pleasure to be here with so many friends. I would like to start by mentioning Dr. Rafael Serrone, Vice President of Fiesp, and CIESP, Pedro Guerra, Head of Staff of the Vice President of the Republic. I would like to send my greetings to the Vice President Geraldo Alckmin. Juliana, I would like to greet you and greet all the women in this audience. I would like also to greet Christo Lehtonen, Director of International Programs of CITRA. Please be welcome to Brazil. And this beautiful audience with many friends, Rodrigo Hollenberg, Secretary of Decarbonization, Almeida, Luis Gabriel Todi from BID Invest, and I'm sure that this will be a disruptive and wonderful meeting. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Federation of the Industries, I would like to declare the World Circular Economy Forum 2025 open to receive all these friends in Latin America and Brazil. It's a great honor and a recognition of the leadership that our country has had in building this agenda. It's a decisive moment in history. We have climate change, climate crisis, loss of biodiversity, so use of natural resources, and this became a huge challenge. The global resources outlook, according to them, we will see a growth of 60% by 2060 compared to the levels in 2020. We need action. Considering this scenario, the transition to circular consumption and manufacturing models became a need, a strategic need. The industry has a crucial role in this transition by its nature. It's a sector with a high intensity of use of inputs, also a vector of transformation. Industry adds value to resources, creating products, creating jobs and innovation. Brazilian industry is totally aware of the role in this transition. We have been working to advance circular economy here in Brazil. And among the examples, we have the active participation in creating the international rules of circular economy, creating a dialogue between the government, society, and creating the Sustainable Business COP30. It's initiative joining Brazilian and international companies towards a pragmatic agenda. This group has a specific group working on circular economy and materials, recognizing that circularity is a crucial step for decarbonization, and the manufacturing industry is crucial for sustainable development. But we have to admit that we still have major challenge to face. According to the Circularity Gap report, the circularity index is below 8%, showing that we still have a long way to go. Recent survey by CNI, with the support of Fiesp, has shown that the main challenges for the industry are economic. So increased interest rates makes access to credit difficult, especially for small and mid-sized companies, and this limits the implementation of technologies and circular economy models. We also face technological challenges. Many solutions still have a high cost, and we don't have skilled professionals to implement them in the companies. Overcoming these challenges requires coordinated action between the government, productive system, and the financial international system. We have to have credit, accessible credit, to promote incentives for the implementation of technology, developing the skills of labor, and we need public policies favoring circularity as a strategic axis for growth. So circular economy, low carbon economy requires research, development of new production scenarios. We have to add value to creating value chains that are more integrated. Ladies and gentlemen, having the WECF organized here in São Paulo, it's more than a major meeting. It's a step of consolidating the role of Brazil as a major player. This year, Brazil will also organize COP30 in Belém do Pará in the Amazon. So 2 global meetings in one single year, showing the commitment that Brazil has with fighting climate change and promoting circular economy, going from theory to practice. And this forum will be a breakthrough, a moment to listen, to create partnership, collective building. We have the major leaders of this agenda here. Our responsibility is to transform this opportunity in concrete results. I would re-emphasize that the Brazilian industry is committed to this future. CNI will go on supporting this action, establishing partnership, and accelerating this transition. Thank you very much. An excellent forum to all.
Obrigada, Marcelo, por essa análise circular que trouxe aí os
Thank
desafios,
you
as
for your
oportunidades,
analysis
as
of the
barreiras.
circular
Thank you
economy
so
with
much,
all its
Marcelo.
challenges,
Now,
barriers,
agora eu gostaria
and
de convidar
challenges.
o
Now I would like to
Pedro Guerra para
invite
vir aqui ao púlpito,
Mr.
por
Pedro
favor.
Guerra.
Bom dia.
Good morning.
Eu vou pegar o microfone para vocês, só um minutinho. I'm gonna get the mic for you. Thank you.
Obrigada. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you for your very nice invitation to participate in such an important forum. I've always come to this building to watch beautiful artistic presentations. I'm also a conductor, but I'm very embarrassed and I'll not be conducting anything. I'll stick to topics relating to circular economy. Distinguished Chairman of the Federation of Industries of the State of São Paulo, Mr. Cervoni, please send my best regards to Dr. Josué. Thank you, your father, Mr. José de Alencar. Mr. Marcelo Tomé, Vice President of CNI, Chairman of Fiero. It's a pleasure to know you in person. Mr. Christo Letonen, Director of Citra. Welcome to Brazil, Christo. Juliana Moroni, one of the most respected journalists in this country. My dear friends, we learned with the sacred scriptures when we were young that we came from the dust, and to dust we will return. We learn in chemistry classes, we learned from Lavoisier that nothing is created, everything is transformed. In other words, it's not due to lack of spiritual guidance or a lack of scientific basis that we haven't yet developed a satisfactory circular economy. For this to happen, we need stronger political decisions. We've made a lot of progress in terms of coming up with new concepts. We made a pact in 2015 to achieve sustainable goals by 2030. And we have encouraged, as one of the 169 goals, so that by 2013 we will substantially decrease residues in Brazil. President Lula's administration since 2023 has made efforts to move on to a more environmentally safe transition by including participation of all its ministries and secretaries. I cannot fail to mention One in specifically the industry of commerce and services, led by current President Alckmin, played a very important role. The creation of the Green Office, and this office under the leadership of former and dear friend Rodrigo Hollenberg, and highly capable public officials, Mr. Ramalho and Cici, have made considerable contributions so that we can change the production cycle. This was decisive for the passing of different legislation on offshore oil production, encouraging recycling, etc. Other tools were also forwarded to Congress. One of them establishing the national policy on circular economy. Additionally, we promoted a democratic forum, namely the Circular Economy Forum. We also launched a number of initiatives on turning linear lines of production into circular lines of production, recycling. And last week, we launched the National Plan on Circular Economy based on 5 pillars: waste reduction, financial resources, articulation, comprised more than 70 different initiatives. And we've received a lot of support on the part of the Brazilian society. Aside from all of this, we have been successfully implementing, with the support of the private sector, and we are certifying the production of coffee, steel. As DIC, I would like to pay tribute to Wallace Moreira and Margarete Grandini. We've introduced a number of innovations. First, incorporating calculations on the stability of the emission of vehicles from the cradle to the grave idea. We've encouraged recycling of auto parts. And third, we also work with the biofuel policy. So we optimize our auto industry framework so as to create a virtuous cycle. This is a fascinating topic. I could speak about it for hours on end, but I cannot fail to mention a crucial pillar of our work. As Vice President Alckmin has mentioned, neo-industrialization is one of the most important axes of MDIC, based on innovation, exports, sustainability, competitiveness, and inclusion. And circular economy is present in each one of these pillars when we support the development of technologies that make good use of biomass to produce fibers for export purposes, and also when we produce products that are less harmful to the environment, and when we reuse energy resources by incorporating them into our end products. We have the famous NDCs, which will be crucial for us to meet the Paris Accord goals. When we use our competitive advantages and do so in an intelligent fashion, I believe we will be able to achieve this. If energy is crucial for the industry, it is also true that the economic demand is key for energy transition, as we have seen happening in the northeast of Brazil. Also, when we provide support to the national garbage collectors policy by generating income and employment, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to come here today. MDIC is at your service to assist you in any way it can by forging partnerships. And just to conclude, I would like to pay tribute to the circular economy and this beautiful park, Oscar Niemeyer. I'd like to pay tribute to this architect. It is not the square angle that attracts me, that which is hard. What really attracts me is the waves and the very sinuous waves of my beloved lover.
Obrigada, Maestro Pedro. Obrigada
Thank you
especialmente pelas
very
aspas de Oscar
much.
Niemeyer.
Thank you very much for mentioning
Now
Oscar
let's go
Niemeyer.
back to English. Thank you, guys. Please, have a seat. Thank you. Well, this is not in the script, but I want to share with you guys a personal story that connects the way I live with circular economy. I'm wearing this dress. I bought it like 25 years ago. I remember it was for a friend's wedding. Well, it's a privilege to still fit in the dress 25 years later, right? But this is not the point. Well, I like Ashtanga Yoga. This is not the point. It's made of organic fabric. So when it's time to leave my hands, and maybe it might go to someone else's closet, or if not, it can be composted or reabsorbed in the nature because it's made of organic fabric. And now I want to ask you, what about you guys? You've come from distant places and very different realities across our planet. Just imagine what we can build together from here, the future we can create by joining forces around a shared purpose. That's why I want to invite you to a little imagination challenge. I want to ask you to close your eyes for a moment, if you like. Picture this. It's the year 2050. And we made it. The seeds planted here today at this forum have grown, borne fruit, and helped reshape the world. Now, transported to that dream version of 2050, turn to the person next to you, introduce yourself, and say where you're from, and share what you've done over the past 25 years to advance the circular economy. Our online audience is also invited to join in the conversation. Please share your ideas with us in the chat. You're going to have 5 minutes, please. Okay. Let's continue. Oh, I love to hear your voices. It sounded like music for me as a circular economy fan. Let's move on. I'm quite sure you made many great ideas came out of this conversation, but we can't just stay in imagination. Let's begin our discussions. And our first module asks the following question. Where are we and what is still needed to finance circular market growth? To help us explore the answers, I'd like to invite to the stage Luiz Gabriel de Azevedo, Executive Director of ESG at IDB Invest, the investment arm of the Inter-American Development Bank. And Ambroise Fayol, Vice President of the European Investment Bank. Hi, please have a seat. So, thank you for being here. The circular economy is already widely recognized as a viable economic model in academic circles, right? And best practices are increasingly being adopted by the productive sector. In the financial sector, key reports and leading organizations have been providing valuable insights into global investments in this area, signaling a growing momentum in channeling capital toward circular ventures. Still, we know that market challenges and even behavioral ones continue to hinder the large-scale adoption of best practice needed to accelerate this transition. With that in mind, I want to ask first, Luiz Gabriel, would you say that one of the main obstacles lies in the inherent characteristics of circular business models?
Thank you, Juliana. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Eu sou brasileiro, mas vou pedir licença para falar em inglês.
I'm Brazilian.
Well, first, I want to congratulate Citra, CNI, Senai, Fiesp for this beautiful event, this inspiring opening with the Meninos do Morumbi and João Felipe. I think it's a start for what I hope I'm sure it's going to be a very action-oriented and successful event. For us, it's an honor, it's a pleasure to be here. Before I answer your question, just quickly about us, 30 seconds, Juliana. First, and I think people that know, the colleagues that preceded me mentioned that our region, Latin America and the Caribbean, is still a take, make, waste region. That's the approach that prevails. We recycle less than 5% of our municipal waste in Latin America. We recycle less than 1% of our wastewater, and we waste 30% of our food. And as Marcelo said, this is unsustainable in the long run, and we need to act to change that. At our group, at IDB Group, we are very engaged in this fight, in this journey. We see positive trends happening in parts of Latin America, and we, for instance, municipal waste, especially on plastic and electronics, waste and wastewater, energy, mobility, mining, housing. So there is hope, and we are very engaged through our three institutions, the IDB working with the public sector on enabling conditions, IDB Lab, our innovation laboratory, working with early stage entrepreneurs initiatives and the environment through which they can foster, and ourselves at IDB Invest financing the private sector. Now, with respect to your question, the answer is very simple, yes, right? One of the key challenges for expanding or scaling up circular economy systems is the characteristic of the business model. No? Unlike traditional linear models in which you can prioritize short-term mass production, circular business models require systemic change. They require cross-collaboration and long-term investment. And I think Rafael, in his opening, he mentioned that the word collaboration is really key in this process. Designing products for circularity requires a shift in our business practices. We need to invest more in research and development. We need to invest in innovation, in design suitable for all sizes and types of businesses. The business case for circular economy is increasingly clear. Companies understand that circular solution can help them capture new growth and value opportunities through market or regulatory forces. The demand exists, demand is there. Financing specific projects, it's easy. Financing circularity at scale is challenging. And I think that's when Christos speaks about action. I think that's what we need to focus on. How we bring interesting initiatives to scale. And it needs to be to a global scale. And in this regard, I think our region, Latin America and the Caribbean, Brazil in particular, as it was said before, have many comparative advantages. And it's really a privilege for the region to see this forum in Brazil now, and as Marcelo Tomé said, COP30 in Brazil in November. It is an opportunity that as Latin Americans we cannot waste, not only to showcase what we can offer, but to do our homework, to deliver on our commitments, and to show that we are able to do that. Now, just to finalize the answer on your question, Juliana, what do we have to do to change that? We need to change the way that we look, identify, and appraise projects by giving more weight to long-term, holistic, and public good types of benefits. We do not have to reinvent the wheel, and that's the good news. Much can be achieved through labeling and taxonomies. And I think the role of the financial sector, be it public or be it private, is fundamental here. It's key. We need to find ways to bring the financial sector in. I'm sure you're going to talk more when you talk to my colleague from the European Investment Bank and other questions. But in terms of the multilateral banks, IDB, EIB, and others in this spectrum of multilateral banks, I think we have a key role to play as inducers, as catalysts of this process through the provision of financing, the provision of technical assistance, advocacy, and policy development. So I will stop here. Continue. Thank you so much, Juliana. And just one thing, when she said, talk to the person on your side, and what would you say? I was talking to Khalil, and I said, I was been trying for the past 25 years to wear the same suit that I wear at the forum sometimes, following Juliana's great example.
Thank you, Luis Gabriel. And you know, the way you said, I think it's a systemic overview, right? We need to have a systemic, holistic overview. Now I want to ask Ambroise, to what extent can the lack of clear policies and supportive regulatory frameworks, which create uncertainty and less predictable investment environment, undermine the economic viability of circular business models and make them less attractive to investors?
Thank you very much, Juliana, and good morning to you all. Apologies for not being able to speak Portuguese, but many thanks for the invitation. IDB is well known here in Brazil and in Latin America in general. I am sure EIB is much less known, so maybe just in 30 seconds to tell you what the European Investment Bank is. It is an institution that is part of the Multilateral Development Group, which is the Bank of the European Union, and we lend to projects all over the world, mostly in Europe, but also here in Latin America, to promote what are the EU objectives, in particular in climate and environment. And we are very proud to what we have achieved. For example, last year, 60% of what we have done in lending was to support the climate policies that the European Union is promoting. And currently, actually, we are chairing the group of the multilateral development banks working on circular economy. Now, to your question, I would say that first, there are much bigger things that are obstacles to investment today than the lack of framework for circular economy. I mean, you speak about predictability, and you speak about uncertainty. These are much bigger things when you look at investments and risks to investment than the lack of circular economy. And I would have two elements that I think are very interesting because they are positive. We keep being, it's too slow moving, etc. It is true that it is slow, but circular economy is getting ground. And let me just take two examples. One, there was a report that has been done by the multilateral development banks to check where we are in terms of volume of activity in circular economy. And what it was released last year. What it has shown is that actually volumes are up. And that volumes are up not only in high-income economies. I mean, we at EIB, we have done a record number of projects last year with 1.4 billion euros of volume. This is the biggest that we have done ever for circular economy projects. But it is also true for medium and low-income countries. And that's what you will see in projects that we often also co-invest or co-finance with IDB or the World Bank or IFC or other institutions in the world. So there is a momentum. It is not necessarily the bulk of what we finance, but there is a momentum. And the second thing that makes me optimistic is what we see in Europe in terms of policy. There has been a new policy that has been presented just 2 months ago by the European Commission, which is called the Clean Industrial Deal, which is one of the key elements of the European Union policy framework. And actually, there are 4 pillars. One pillar is strengthen circular economy. And why is it a pillar? Because we think it is absolutely needed to do more for circular economy projects because it is good as an industrial policy. It is good to boost production. It is good to leverage. It is something that we think has to be much more at the core of what we do as industry policy. And that, I think, is something that's going to help the development of circular economy projects. It is obviously clear in some areas like critical raw material, but it is also clear in general.
Thank you, Ambroise. I want to ask Luis Gabriel, think of how can we reach scale. Circular business models often rely on diverse revenue streams, require higher upfront investments in infrastructure and logistics for collection and processing, and may have longer return periods. Financial institutions are often less familiar with these structures, which makes risk assessment and asset valuation, especially for assets that retain value over multiple life cycles, more complex. Do you believe that the absence of standardized accounting rules and metrics for circular activities is a significant barrier to unlocking investment in this space?
Absolutely, yes. And the lack of standardized accounting and rules and metrics for circular economy activities definitely is a barrier to unlock investment. And I'll expand, but let me take 20 seconds because whereas we are talking about financing and unlocking, there is a soft aspect also to it that many banks, including ourselves, development banks in general, also are concerned with. Many times when you engage on circular economy projects, you have to engage as a first comer. You have to engage with projects that carry in themselves other risks, non-financial risk, reputational risk. And if you're not prepared to take those risks, you may be missing an opportunity to doing something to lever real impact. And I'll make a reference to a project that IDB Invest is financing in Mexico called Prolade. It's a palm oil project. This is the first time that a multilateral has approved a palm oil project in the past 15 years. And we have done this because we have as partners, for instance, in this case, the government of Finland. This is a first-of-a-time project that really plays for circularity, and we're able, through the funds made available to us by the government of Finland, to offer a blend finance component to this project, which made the project viable. Yeah, it is palm oil. It has intrinsic risk, but it's a first of a kind, and it can be a game changer. So the financial system needs also to be prepared to take those risks. But specific to the question that you provided, Juliana, standardization is crucial for many things in the financial sector. First, to provide clear guidance on what constitutes a circular activity, enabling more accurate valuation and reporting, and valuation and reporting are critical for the financial sector. Building investors' confidence by ensuring transparency and consistency. Financial markets need clear KPIs to assess circular business models and measure returns, much like carbon accounting and frameworks for carbon finance. So there's a lot of similarities, and we can learn from what's taking place. To the extent that we can standardize metrics and accounting system, this facilitates, for instance, the issuance or the expansion of financial products such as green bonds or sustainability-linked bonds. Now, we are supporting, for instance, in Colombia, through Banco de Bogotá, a bond which includes a circular economy component. And by including a clear definition of what that is, 8 projects have been financed under that bond. So it's very, very critical for that. It's also important for connecting circular economy with the criteria on ESG risk management. I just mentioned that. And finally, for risk assessment. Banks, be them public or private, they have a risk department. And it's always hard to talk to our risk managers, right? So standardized metrics allows investors to evaluate the long-term viability, ensuring circular solutions are scalable and bankable. Therefore, establishing a harmonized standard and metrics for circular activities is really vital to reducing uncertainty, improving investor confidence, and unlocking large-scale financing.
And it's also all about governance, good governance, right? Ambroise, I want to ask you a question about costs. Market-related obstacles include the current low cost of many virgin materials compared to recycled or remanufactured inputs, costs that often fail to reflect the true environmental externalities of linear production. This makes circular products and services less competitive when judged solely on price. In addition, the lack of well-established markets for secondary materials and products, combined with inconsistent quality standards, can create supply chain risks. Do you believe this price disparity discourages investment in the circular economy?
Well, I think it is a big problem.
Yeah.
And if you take the example of plastics, it is clear that there is a problem of price.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to just do secondary raw material. So yes, it is a problem, because when you look at the situation of plastic in the sea, the risk is that in 2050 you have more plastic than fishes in the sea. Mm-hmm. And so you need to find, and I think this is also what you said, the right incentives. You need to find the right way to promote the production, the sale, the treatment of secondary raw materials. And that's something that we are trying to do more. It is not necessarily easy. For example, we have one initiative with our friends from the KfW and AFD and a few other European bilateral partners to remove the plastics from the sea. but this is seen as a way to promote also circular economy for the future. There are elements which make me more hopeful when we all know that the economy of the future will need more critical raw materials. That is not necessarily good news. The good news is when you look at the way the designs of these critical raw materials is done by the major policymakers and the industrials, it includes already from the beginning, it includes much more the recycling and the use of circular part of it. So that makes me more hopeful. But I agree with you, one part of the challenge is incentives. Which are the incentives? How can we do incentives? It's also something that is valid for our institutions. Internal incentives for our teams to try to promote circular projects when they see it, or to promote circular part of projects when they see that in a project that they are praising, there is a circular part that could be much more developed. That's our role as management, to make these incentives active and allowing to increase the speed of circular economy projects.
Thank you, Ambroise. Costs, regulations, incentives, so many challenges, right? Overcoming these interconnected obstacles requires a collective effort involving supportive government policies, innovative financial, and stronger, and so many challenges, like long-term value and potential of a thriving circular economy. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. Thanks. And since we're talking about public policy and collaboration, we are honored to welcome a distinguished guest among us. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Ms. Tarja Halonen, former President of Finland. Great to see you here. Thank you so very much. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Bom dia.
Oh, fantastic. Bom dia.
So, Excellencies, dear participants, dear friends, we are almost finishing the opening ceremony. But just remember, this is just the start of a wonderful week where you are the key element. So I'm very delighted to address this forum here in São Paulo. As a member of the board of the Finnish Innovation Fund, you have already heard it many times, Sitra. And I was just surprised in a very positive way when I saw that how many of you are here. So this is the best guarantee for the week. So by working together and by sharing solutions, we can build a sustainable future. And even if we have done so much, I'm very sure that in the end of the week, you will say that what a new wonderful ideas I received. And many of you have done them. So you have heard already many times that our planet is fast approaching tipping points of no return on several fronts. And the circularity needs to become a standard practice to stop it. So, first few words about Finland. You have already heard this name Sitra, but you know that we are somewhere there up in the north or so. So really, my home country is Finland. And circular economy is a strategic priority both domestically and globally. Finland was the first country to publish a national circular economy roadmap already in 2016. We updated in some years later, 2019. And our goal is to become a carbon neutral circular economy by 2035. So we have also made the historical decision to set a cap to curb the overconsumption of natural resources. So that we have decided. And I just repeat one of the very smart sentences here. Yes, we know, and now it's the time for action. But we know also that we need all the time also the new ideas. So fine. Finland is compared to Brazil. We are 5.5 million. Yes, 5.5. And I just wanted to know what's the number of the Brazil just today. I thought it's 200 million, but it's 210 million if somebody has done already more today. So we are happy that we are not alone. In this spirit, the European Union has just launched the EU Circular Economy Resource Centre, and funded by the European Commission and Finland, and led by Sitra. The Centre supports circular transition through policy cooperation and sharing of good business practices. So I would say that, yes, okay, we are far away from each other, but now I hope I can also convince you Europe is today also here, and we will be with you. So we are very, very convinced that cooperation is very important. All our partners here in Latin America, but also Africa and Asia. So dear audience, the 4 R's are the way to go. Reduce, reuse, repair, and only once those steps have been exhausted, then recycle. But I would add that all the time when we use all these 3 R's, so it's also good to be somewhere in your mind the recycle. Because all that is much easier if you know that finally you could also recycle it, including also this beautiful dress our moderator has here. So what then have been discovered as some of the major unifying features of successful circular solutions? It has been discovered that cooperation and networking methods are essential, as well as data on materials used and means of keeping them circulating, so that we know what's really the facts. Companies developing, collecting, and sharing such data are enablers of circular economy. It has been discovered that a startup company that aims at profit, but also at social impact, is over 40% more likely to make a breakthrough in markets when compared to the so-called classical or traditional only profit-oriented companies. So, dear audience, circular economy is not only an environmental issue. What is, of course, important as such, but also a tool for advancing social equity and justice. It provides solutions for the resilience of societies. Over-exploitation of natural resources is really a root cause of many interlinked crises. The impacts affect entire ecosystems and lives of billions of people. They also increase inequality, hunger, epidemic diseases, forced displacement, and armed conflicts. Circular economy aims to reduce this pressure supporting peace, stability, and long-term resilience. So democracy and good governance are two key enablers of circular change. Policies and public leadership can drive the shift from linear to circular economies. A democratic and inclusive process is essential to ensure that circular transition benefits all, not just a few. So, dear participants, we need all our human capital, our creative resources to find a new way into the future. Ensuring a good life for the current and future generations requires reduction of inequalities and ensuring everyone's full participation in society, as highlighted in the tomorrow session on empowering informal workers and pathways for inclusive circularity. And now I will take an international politics risk, because I will speak about the gender equality. So the gender equality and contribution of youth are necessity for a sustainable future. For example, women and girls represent half of the world's population and therefore also half of its potential. The backlash on women's rights is growing stronger at the same time when the global crises are affecting just women and girls hardest. Let me also highlight the role of indigenous peoples as drivers of transformation. Indigenous peoples account for only 5% of the world's population, 5%. They help protect 80% of the world's biodiversity. Indigenous peoples' traditional knowledge is very important to the resilience of the ecosystems and sustainable ways of living. So, dear friends, circular economy also offers excellent opportunities for more successful implementation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The successful implementation of the Agenda 2030 requires safeguarding effective global cooperation and rule-based multilateralism. But sustainable development also requires partnerships and the effort of everyone, including governments, businesses, academia, civil society, as well as everyone as individuals. The World Circular Economy Forum is an excellent practical example of SDG Goals 17, revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development. So, peaceful and resilient societies cannot be built on a foundation of expectation, exclusion, and environmental collapse. We must change our mindset and rethink how we measure and value success or well-being. Finally, I would say circular economy is a new, may I say, mandatory way of seeing and organizing the world we now live in. It calls for breaking the linear legacy of take, make, waste, and replacing it with the systems built on regeneration, equity, and care. And I can guarantee, as I think you also, that it's not the words, it's the better future. Thank you very much, and have a very excellent week in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daria, for bringing us hope.
Can I make a very personal question to you? It's not very difficult to wear the same dresses or suits 25 years. The problem with us is normally that how to keep our weight in such a way that we can do that. Thanks.
I want to also thank you for your wonderful jacket. You know this color? We call it the Brazilian green flag, because it's exactly the green of our Brazilian flag.
And this is recycled. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Daria.
And be careful with the spots.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Daria. As we approach the conclusion of our first plenary session, I'd like to invite you to visit the Senai Mobile School, stationed right here in the front. The Mobile School is an initiative by Senai that has been promoting the circular economy throughout the state of São Paulo. It has already visited 31 cities and impacted over 18,000 people. And one more announcement before we close. Make the most of your WCEF 2025 experience, whether you're joining us online or here in person. Download our official app to stay updated on everything happening at WCEF 2025 and to connect with other participants. Be sure to visit the exhibitor area in the OCA building. That's also where the parallel sessions take place, where you'll find the meeting points, which you can book through the app, and of course, where we'll be hosting lunch and the cocktail reception. Please keep an eye on the schedule. The parallel sessions will start promptly 11:30, both here in the auditorium and in the OCA building. And we'll see you back here at 4 p.m. Until then.